Hey, people of YouTube, internet, modelers, wargamers, and people who accidentally clicked on this video. This is Larry Gen 24 Killian coming at you with another episode of Models Workshop. As you can see, it's airbrush related. A couple weeks ago, actually a couple months ago, I picked up a bottle of Regdab needle juice made by Badger. Turns out the batch was bad. This was the culprit right here. Now, much credit to Badger. They put a warning out as soon as it came out that they had a bad batch and let us know. So, I sent them my email or all my info, and they sent me a new bottle. So, I've went through and I have tore down my airbrush, cleaned it really thoroughly, got all the other stuff off of it. The bad batch turned really tacky with time, really tacky. And so, and I'd been pretty liberal whenever I'd put it on my airbrush the first time, so I really had to go and scrub it pretty good. Well, yeah, I decided this time I'm going to go ahead and make a video. So, all right. As you can see, I rearranged everything and pretty much put all the major parts that I'm going to hit right here. Already removed the cap, popped the hole in it. Now, I'm pretty liberal when it comes to putting on the stuff, because you can always wipe it off later. Go ahead and start with the cup. Put a few drops in, probably about 2. Swirl it around. Now, one thing I did notice about this stuff whenever I first got it was that if you had any paint left over, like in a cup or something, the paint would come up. So it actually is pretty good about removing paint too. Kind of a byproduct, I guess. I guess as it works its way underneath the paint that's already dried there, it just kind of worms its way up. Now we take the Q-tip that we had already put some on, just roll it around, make sure it gets all the way down in there. There we go. Now I actually put a little bit on the outside too, because if you've airbrushed for a while, like paint cups and stuff like that, you end up getting paint on the outside, and sometimes it can just be a royal pain in the butt to get it to get clean. Now, one thing is, don't forget the accessories, and I'm going to go back later and I'm going to hit the other 2 paint cups, the micro and the large one, as well as the splatter guard. Large paint cup, just like the small one. Couple drops in there, swirl it around. I'd actually do it right now, but I need to clean it a little better. Same with the small one. Just a couple drops. This is going to be a little bit different. Probably just take the Q-tip that has take the Q-tip that was now soaked, put it in there. Coat the inside really well. Once again, coat the outside as well. Now the needle type, just go over it, get down in between the prongs. Anybody that's used this type of This type of airbrush knows that paint likes to collect up here on the prongs. Doesn't really do a lot unless you really let it build up. But, you know, better the airflow, better your off here are anyways. Yeah, and see, here's some paint that I had missed. And the oil has pretty much kind of just worked its way underneath. And it pops right off. So not only does it help with your airbrush when it comes to keeping paint from sticking on it, but it also helps pull up old dry paint too. So there's those parts. This I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm just going to put a drop in there. And just kind of let it slide on down. Take the needle, work the juice down into the tip. And they are cutting a tree down outside, so sorry about the random noise. But just use the needle to work it down. Then the next thing up is the needle itself. And I think I have pretty much enough on my hand right now to just kind of rub all over the needle. And you can take the Q-tip that was soaked. Rub it down. Remember, always go towards the tip of the needle, like that. Never want to go the other way. One, the needle is incredibly sharp and you'll probably cut yourself. Two, it could damage the tip of the needle. And once you've bought 2 or 3 $13 needles, you'll realize that the last thing you want to do, you'd rather have it under your skin than have to buy another one. Nozzle's the last part. There's actually some paint on here, so you'll probably see it coming up. Rub it down really good. Get inside. There we go. Nice and covered. Then the rest of the airbrush, I do put some on, but I don't get it as much as like the rest of the airbrush. Just kind of the residue that's on my hand, I just use it to go over the airbrush. Take the Q-tip, run it through the channels. Now I'm going to get the paint cavity here in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and just start wiping it out a little bit. Wipe down the nozzle a little bit. Get the trigger mechanism a little. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and reassemble the airbrush. First we'll put in this part, which is what controls the needle stop. Alright, do a function check. It works. This right here is actually what controls the tension. And it screws into the back. Such. Get this little tool. And completely forgetting certain parts to put on first, like a goofball. But anyways, all right, now you take everything off and you go back and add the parts that are supposed to go into it first, like that, and like that, and then you screw it on. This is the spring that actually controls the tension on the trigger when you pull it back. And this is the rod that the needle slides through. So that goes right here. Then it goes through and into this, which is actually part of the thing where you can unscrew it, and it controls how much tension. Basically, you're just tightening and loosening the spring whenever you adjust that. So that part then goes into the airbrush, like so. Now you take your little tool, tighten her down real good, put this nut on the end. This nut is actually what causes that one part to get tightened down when the needle goes in. And then probably should have put the trigger assembly in beforehand, but no biggie. Just slide it in. Like so. Pull back on that rod that goes in there. Like so. So that's how the trigger is going to look when it's on. Like I said, if you tighten that down, you get more tension on the trigger. You want the pad facing forward like that. You want the little crescent thing to go backwards like that. And there's a little ball, like when you push down on it. You should have a little bit of tension. Like that. Next step is to put the nozzle. Now that the main body has been assembled, put the nozzle into the tip, like so. And then we're going to tighten it like that. Put the prong guard on, like so. Put the paint reservoir on. You really don't need to at this step, but I'm going to go to it too anyways. Now you're going to take the needle. You have to very carefully run it into here. Now one thing you can do, actually before I put the needle in, then take a drop of lubricant and drop it right there. One drop. Now as I run the needle down, it's going to run it down through the entire track of where the needle goes. So remember, hold down on the trigger, the air thing, as the needle goes through. Yeah, you can work the needle in and out a few times. Make sure that drop of oil that you put in is traveling freely through the entire thing, like that. Now, apply just a little bit of pressure, and once it's tightened, spin the nut to lock down, like so. And final step, toss the rear handle on. Now, airbrush is completely put together, been lubed. Now, the one thing I would honestly do is you're going to end up having to wipe it down again because there's several parts that are really greasy. And basically just take a dry towel. First, I'd start with the outside. Make sure it's really cleaned off, extra oils off of it. Because anybody who's been in the military, one thing you'll know is that you don't want to over lubricate something because then it attracts dust particles. So you've really got to find that nice little balance of it's been done but not overdone. So now the airbrush is back together. Excuse me, I'm going to turn on the air compressor. Got a little bit of oil coming out. I'm going to put one drop in the reservoir. And slowly spray it out. I'm going to take a paper towel. Right inside the paint cup. Get a lot of excess out. And then finally I'm going to take a little bit of Createx. Take a little bit of Createx cleaner. And spray through it to clean up any large goblets. Now the cool thing is, once you can't, I don't think you're going to be able to really see it. But if you look in there, you can actually see even the cleaner beads up now on the surface. So it's definitely worth your time. It's really inexpensive. really worth your time. It's really inexpensive. I think it was like $7 for the bottle. And as you can see, we used like 5 drops, 6 drops throughout the entire deal to do an entire airbrush. And that's from the get-go. That's not, hey, you know, we're just doing a quick wipe down, 1 or 2 drops. So that one bottle will probably last you a lifetime. And, you know, I'm a guy that owns multiple airbrushes, and I still foresee this lasting me a long time. Makes the airbrush look good. It's great for revamping your airbrushes. So make sure to wipe them down real good when you're done. And it's an A+ product. If you're an airbrusher, highly recommend picking some up. Highly, highly recommend picking some up. And there you go. That is a teardown product review tutorial on how to put on some needle juice. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you like this video, swing down below, hit that big red subscribe button. You can find us over on the interwebs over at www.models-workshop.com, where we put out a pretty good amount of information, articles covering anything from assembly, painting, workrooms, all that good stuff. You can also find us over on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Models Workshop. No dashes, anything, just one huge orgy of letters. Hopefully you enjoyed. Until next time, peace.